Todt, if you'll please remain standing, we're going to swear you in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to enter in this case is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am. Ladies, thank you.
Please identify yourself.
My name is Anthony John Todt.
What is your age?
46.
Mr. Todt, we've heard testimony about a woman named Megan Todt. Are you familiar with that person?
Yes.
And were you, in fact, married to Megan Todt?
Yes.
When did you first meet her?
It was high school of 1992.
And where was that?
In Montville, Connecticut. Sorry. Montville, Connecticut. Montville.
And did you and Ms. Todt, did you and Megan, we've used first names throughout the case, so I'll do it tonight. I get hard to remember. Did you become married or become a couple?
Yes.
Now, did you attend the university in the state of Connecticut?
Yes.
And where did you go to school?
Sacred Heart University in Fairfield, Connecticut.
Did Megan also become a student at Sacred Heart?
Yes, she was 2 years behind me.
What was your course of study?
Undergraduate work, a major in psychology with a concentration in health psychology, with a declared minor of pre-physical therapy, and then I finished my master's degree of science in physical therapy.
Right. Now, did your wife, when did you marry Megan? Was it in college or later?
I had graduated from college already, and she was in her second to last year of college.
What field did she study?
She had the exact same credentials as myself, physical therapy.
Did you practice in the field of physical therapy?
Yes, sir.
And are you familiar with medical terms and medical procedures?
Most definitely, sir.
How long did you practice as a physical therapist?
I received my license in August of 1999 and was practicing up until the current.
Was Megan also involved in the practice with you?
In the practice of physical therapy, sir?
Yes.
Yes. She, whereas I did more hospitalist, nursing care, home care, and outpatient, she concentrated most of her time as a pediatric specialist and did work some time in nursing homes when we traveled.
What were the circumstances that brought your family to Celebration?
Initially, my wife and I bought the condo in Celebration in July of 2005 when we were traveling physical therapists, which means they put us around the country either to cover for what they call snowbird season or people got on maternity leave. They were generally minimum of 13-week assignments, and they could be extended. We first went out to California, wonderful time. Then we came down to Florida and found that since we sold our initial condo in Connecticut, we didn't have any deductions. So we bought the condo in Celebration as a partial investment and partially primary home, because part of our contract with our traveling company is they pay for our residence. So at the current time, they're paying for a rental. Why have the company pay for a rental when they can pay for your actual house and help with your mortgage payments? So we bought the condo in July 2005. Would you like me to continue?
Let me ask one thing at this point. What was the status of Megan's health when you first met her?
When I first met Megan, sorry, I just needed to collect myself. Megan had initially been diagnosed as a teen with Lyme disease, in which was, they say Lyme disease goes into remission, they say Lyme disease goes into just recesses and waits another day to invade, all depending on your immune system, all depending on what research shows and who you follow. She also was diagnosed right around middle school, right before I met her, with a heart issue. This heart issue they diagnosed as mitral valve prolapse and a murmur. They also diagnosed arrhythmias, at which time I found out after I started dating Megan in high school, because I asked her one time. We used to go out to dinner all the time. We used to, normal dating.
Ask your next question, Mr. West.
I'll try and ask you more questions that have a shorter answer.
I apologize, sir.
And then when you married Megan, what was the status of her health generally?
Generally, she was healthy. She avoided caffeine and she avoided sugars because of the heart issue previously mentioned.
And then, did there come a time when Megan began to have health problems?
Yeah.
And about when was the onset of that?
March 2011.
And what are the conditions that she experienced?
We were vacationing. I apologize. We were vacationing in Florida. And we were at a theme park. And she got bit by a bug. She described this bug as a 6-legged black bug with a red mark on the back that reminded her of the state of Texas. I didn't see the bug. It was at the end of the day, and this bug bite, which you would think was innocuous, turned into this yellow, green, I can't even describe, pustule. It was a gigantic whitehead. So we went home that night. I went home to the hotel, or it was a hotel at the time, because of the issue.
And about what, that was in 2011, you say?
March 2011, sir.
And then in the ensuing year, did Megan develop any other health complications?
Oh, yeah. Through many trips to the hospital, many trips to the ER, cardiac critical care units, she was diagnosed with a multitude of diagnoses, I guess you want to say. First of which was they found that she had drug-induced hepatitis. Sorry, first, I apologize, let me back up. They diagnosed her with tonsillar cellulitis. She had these gigantic white pustules on her tonsils. Her lymph node was just totally enlarged, in trouble breathing. In subsequent visits to the ER, subsequent visits to the doctors, they found that she acquired, through the medical aspect, what's called drug-induced hepatitis. So her liver became inflamed, very much so, that it was malfunctioning, to put it lightly. Her eyes were, at one point, the color of the most fluorescent yellow highlighter you ever seen in your life. I swear her eyes could...
Mr. Todt,
Yes.
did there come a time then at that occasion when she had the hepatitis that it affected her lifestyle or what she could do?
Most definitely. My wife, she was a yoga teacher, in addition to physical therapist. She went from a very strong, vibrant woman to barely holding on to 90 pounds. She couldn't keep weight on. She couldn't breathe. Her heart rate progressively was going crazy. At rest, it would be 190 or above. EKGs, all that kind of stuff, saw her throwing atrial fibrillations, PVCs, which are, it's basically your heart operates in a synchronous motion, okay? Valves pump on rhythm. Her valves and her, sorry, not valves, her chambers were beating all irregular. It was basically, you take four wheels of a car.
Objection, Your Honor, lack of
It's the narrative system.
Mr. Todt, have you, what medical training have you received in conjunction with the physical therapy?
I appreciate you asking me that, sir. 20 years of medical experience working in the hospital, case review of charts, home care, meaning that not only was I operating under a nurse or with a nurse individually at a house, I was also opening cases on my own, which means I received medical information, medical records from the doctors and from the hospital themselves to be interpreted, to be reviewed, and to be deciphered so that I can properly give the appropriate care within their medical limits to the patient.
Thank you for that background. Now, as your wife continued with her health issues, what was her attitude or outlook or demeanor?
Her demeanor went from a very vibrant young woman in which literally we were best friends. As dating, we always knew we would remain best friends. That's how close we were. We dated for 8 years before we were married. Her family was my family, okay? Her grandparents were my grandparents. That's how close we were, okay? She went from, even though she remained the light of my life, whenever she walked into a room, literally, after almost 20 years of marriage, my stomach would have those butterflies in it, seeing my wife. I existed, but she went from...
Ask the question again, Mr. Wilson.
Now, at that point in time, did you have children?
At the time she got sick, sir?
Sorry?
At what point in time, sir?
When we're talking about this period in her life, when she had gone, when she was less vibrant or less
Yeah.
Her demeanor changed.
Before she got sick, we were blessed with 2 wonderful boys. Okay? She went from a mom who provided for everything, including myself. I consider myself a 3rd kid, okay? To a person who could barely walk stairs on certain days. We hired, with the help and the assistance of our family, we hired I guess you want to say a mother's helper, okay? In which to come in, help bring the kids to school, which is something my wife...
What I'm going to ask you to do is to try and I'll try and correct you so that we don't have long extensions, so it's easier for everyone to understand what we're talking about.
I apologize, sir. It's been 2 years since I've been able to tell my story. I appreciate you working with you.
You and Megan attended Sacred Heart, which was a Roman Catholic university, is that true?
That's the debate. It's Roman Catholic by name, but it was considered Jesuit run, which I don't know where the derivation between those 2 run.
But were you raised in the Catholic Church?
I was raised in the Roman Catholic Church and continue to practice as such, sir.
Do you know whether Megan was raised in the Roman Catholic Church?
Megan was raised in the Roman Catholic Church. However, before she went to college, her and her mother and father did shy away from it, but she did get confirmed before we got married.
As you progressed as a family, did Megan seek other religious experiences?
Most definitely, sir.
And what was the reason for that?
When she got sick, we were under the model of traditional med. That's where we were trained. Medicine helps. Progression of her disease process, we went more alternative. Or she went more alternative, I should say, because we were told to stay away from medications. Alternatives were not working. Through her yoga practice and her yoga certification, she got introduced to, I guess you want to say, an Eastern religion, Hindu based. I always thought it was Buddhist, but it was actually Hindu. And she shied away from the Roman Catholic Church. And her progression of her religion through that religion and her following also took over her medical outlook and her medical treatment of herself as she shied away from unsuccessful medical interventions.
Around that time, was there a calamitous event in the life of Megan's parents?
Before the birth of my first son, in November of 2002, her father hung himself. She was very close with her father. She was not close with her mom. I was very close with her father. He was one of my good friends, one of the few males I trusted. One of the things I totally enjoyed about the relationship with her and her family was her relationship with her father. She was that close with him.
Right, sir. And then also, along with having 3 children yourself with Megan, she suffered miscarriages, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Did that also affect her approach towards her health, or approach towards how she carried on day to day?
The first miscarriage happened when she first got bit by that bug. And before the whole progression of the disease and the process under it, there was, of course, depression and that kind of stuff for losing a baby. And then in the fall of 2019, September actually, we were blessed. We found out that a simple weekend away, we conceived. And she went from being depressed to very happy, dancing, singing, something that I hadn't seen in forever. And we lost a baby. And it affected her big time. And obviously affected me, but she went from that singing, humming, dancing person to not, to days that she didn't even get out of bed.
What was the religious group that she had migrated towards, the Eastern religion? Did you ever attend their services with your wife, or?
I was very supportive of my wife. I did not understand, nor did I follow this religious aspect. I was Roman Catholic. The way I was raised in a military family. My stepfather was a very proud military man. I was taught respect.
Unresponsive.
Repeat your question, Mr.
The
Watson.
question that was asked was, let me ask an entirely different question so no confusion. I want to make sure I tie up some loose ends. You mentioned Lyme disease, and that's somewhat prevalent in New England, is that correct?
It seems like everybody has Lyme disease, yes.
And that is transmitted by insects, bugs also, correct?
That is correct.
All right. And then what were the effects on that of your wife that you noticed?
When the Lyme disease became apparent and positive, she had breathing problems, heart rate problems, chronic pains. When she had what was called exacerbations, so without getting too technical, your immune system is the best thing to keep any disease at bay. So whenever she didn't feel well, got sick, the Lyme would become more prevalent. So when the Lyme became more prevalent, not only did she have joint aches, she had feelings of hopelessness, depression, not wanting to go on certain days. There were some days where I helped her shave her legs because she couldn't bend over, she was in so much pain, or couldn't breathe.
Mr. Todt, did your wife seek a different way to health through the Eastern religion?
Yes, she did, sir.
And was it diet-based or worship-based, or what were the parts that appealed to her, and what was she seeking?
She was seeking control over her own medical care. Basically, anybody in a chronic illness wants some kind of control of their own self. She went from traditional medicine, she went to religious following of dictating what her health care was. She even followed a book from a guy who listened to a ghost who had no medical experience to tell her what she should be doing, what she should be eating, and that kind of stuff, called the medical medium.
Was there any discussion within that religious group about an afterlife?
Yes. This religious group could be conducted mostly by Skype or whatever video thing was at the time. I think it was Skype.
Objection, hearsay.
No,
The means of technology. Thank you.
I would sit with her during some of these meetings. They would give her prayers to pray, whether to help with what they were talking about with what was called family lineage karma burning. Because as in the Bible, Roman Catholic, the same thing she followed was the fact that your past, your past family's transgressions follow forward multiple generations. So as you asked, please repeat your question, just so I can make sure I repeat correctly.
Was there an afterlife component of this religious practice?
Yes, there was an afterlife component in which each afterlife, she believed that there was reincarnation. And as they burned the family karma in the current life, they reached a salvation in which they were reincarnated to a better life.
And was her desire to seek better health through this process by going into another life?
Better health and better relationships with people who had abused her and had verbally and otherwise affected her in her life.
There was some discussion about a suicide note, and that was apparently directed from Detective Cole Miller to Dr. Nara. Were you aware of any suicide note?
When I came back to the house that day, she showed it to me, yes. But I had no knowledge of it before I came home that day.
And what was her demeanor or attitude at that time?
She was trying to explain to me what she did. She was trying to make me understand. It was the whole aspect of it was she was trying to present this as fact. And I was telling her, I don't believe that, I can't believe I called her some names, which I never called her before in my life. But the whole demeanor of it was, this is what I've been told through my meditations. This is what I believe. This is what, as she referred to as, the light has provided for her, and the light.
Hearsay and non-responsive.
Talking about your own demeanor and how your countenance.
My own demeanor, when I found out what happened, I puked. I cried. I was in total denial of what happened. I couldn't understand. And then after that, I was like, I want to get you help. I'll take responsibility for this. Just get help. That's all I wanted. I would do anything in my life to do what she needed, provide for what she needed, provide her a happy life. I held my wife on a pedestal. I didn't care anything to myself. I wanted her to have a good life, period. And I wanted her to get help. I didn't care.
Objection, non-responsive, and narrative.
We'll try and work on shorter sentences so that everyone can keep up, and
My apologies, sir.
we're fine. Have you progressed from talking about the afterlife to talking about what happened to your children and your wife?
I don't understand what you mean, sir.
When you said what had happened with Megan, what were you talking about?
What had happened that day when I came home?
Which day?
I don't know.
You don't have to talk about calendar date. What was the occurrence that made that day memorable?
I came home and my kids were dead. It was the most horrible day of my life. And what made it more horrible is my wife died in front of me also.
Had there been a blueberry pie that was cooked in the house?
According to what she told me,
Objection, hearsay.
and
Just a sec, Mr. Todt. Response.
Describe what you know or saw and not what you heard from another person, if you can.
thank you, sir. When I came home that morning, I knew my family the night before was having dessert, and I declined it because you saw my health. I was jogging and losing weight. I came home that morning, and there was a melted purple, looked like a pudding pie. I can't really tell you exactly what it was. She told me what it was later, but it was in a graham cracker crust. And the kitchen, it was my job to clean the kitchen. But when I came home, that purple, bluish, grapish, melted pie, I guess you want to say, the pie dish was sitting there on the counter with some residue on the kids, at the kids' places on their plates.
At that time you came in, you saw that there were desserts that had been served up on the table?
I saw the remnants of it, yes.
And then did you then discover that your children were dead?
Not initially, no. I had gone upstairs. Well, I had too much information, but I had to pee. So I went to the bathroom and came out, and my wife was at the top of the stairs. My house was very quiet. Very unnormal having 3 kids. One 13, one 10 at the time, the other one 4 years old. She brought me in the room. I had been feeling nauseous that morning anyways, because I had these shakes I was taking for weight loss, all that. And around the same time that she was telling me I was puking. It was then that I understood what had transpired. She had blood on her shirt. And after that, after I said a few uncolored words to her, I then discovered the kids. I went into the rooms and found them dead.
You saw the video yesterday where on the 15th, Cole Miller and another investigator in a tiny room talked to you at length. Did you have an agenda for that discussion?
I don't even remember that day. Last thing I remember was falling down the stairs and smacking my head on the stairs, which resulted in a fracture on my neck. Next thing I knew, I woke up here. And seeing that video yesterday, that was the first time I saw that video. I had no agenda consciously, but I can tell you throughout my relationship with my wife, especially after she got sick, I would put myself as a forefront and take responsibility and protect my wife.
You said in the statement that you stabbed the children and there was blood everywhere. Do you remember that from yesterday's video?
I remember it just seeing on yesterday's video. I wasn't aware of anything I said till about June. So maybe June or July, 6 months after I got here, when I got the transcript of what I said that day.
Why did you say that you performed the knife, the incisions on the bellies of the children?
It goes back to the aspect is I was covering for my wife. Obviously, unsuccessfully, because as you saw by the video, compared to what they said, I had no clue had my kids died.
Did you have ideas of joining your family in the afterlife?
After I saw everybody die,
Yes, sir.
after I saw my wife die and saw my kids, most definitely. I wanted to be with them. That's the only thing I wanted to be. I didn't care by what means. I didn't care by what anything. I sliced my wrist. I took multiple doses of Benadryl. I tried to hang myself several times. I bought a pellet gun to shoot myself because I couldn't get a gun to, as you call it, eat a gun.
Did you ever try to poison yourself?
With Benadryl, yes. And also, I was just under recently of medical care, and I was given metformin for diabetes. And at one point, I swallowed the whole bottle of metformin.
Now, I think there was evidence that you remained in the house for up to 3 weeks after the day that changed your family's entire future. During that time, how many attempts did you make to take your own life?
I would have to go through them to count, because in my head I can't count them. Do you mind if I tell you?
Can we close your eyes for about 15 minutes about 15 seconds and try and formulate the answer?
Unconscious recollection, I can tell you I remember at least 8 times. However, since being here and through other diagnostic testing, I found out there were additional times. So 10 times, at least.
And was Benadryl the primary agent that you were trying to use?
Benadryl was one of the agents. There was also a knife I picked up. I saw my wife stab herself. How hard could it be to stab yourself? You gotta be freaking kidding me. You see a knife with a blade like this, and you want to instill that into your body? No way. I chickened out, yes. I tried other means. I tried at least 3 episodes of Benadryl.
And did you not keep it down or vomit, or what happened?
Benadryl, as you know, can make you sleepy. Okay? The first time I took it, I didn't know what I was doing. I had no plan of this. I just wanted to be with my family. I woke up, I don't know when, how long. Obviously, I didn't take enough. Next time, I took a whole bunch of, the wall dry. I remember that distinctly because that stuff tastes horribly. But the children's, which is no different, it's just a better flavor. I took, I think it was equivalent of 5 glasses about this tall I had prepared. Okay? I fell asleep before I finished it entirely. The last thing of Benadryl, which I took when going back and looking at the dates and whatever, it turned out the day before that they came to my house. I saw the aspect of the 12th on one of the phones. At that time, I took over 200 pills of Benadryl. Now, mind you, a normal dose of Benadryl is 2 pills. And I took 2 family-size liquid Benadryls. In order to stay awake, and also because I was feeling nauseous, I took a Mountain Dew and an energy drink. The energy drink to keep me up because I kept falling asleep, and the Mountain Dew so that I wouldn't throw this stuff up. I wanted this stuff in my system. I was so frustrated I couldn't kill myself.
In the crime scene photographs that were shown to the jury, there was a Huffy bicycle in a box.
Yeah.
And were you prepared to assemble that bike?
God, my babies. That was to be a Christmas present to my daughter. I hadn't picked up the boys' bikes yet because the boys were some of my best friends, and I could never say. I went over there that night to...
Ask your next question, Mr. Wesley.
Did you open the box? Did you assemble the bike?
I never made it there to assemble the bike. That's where I went that night, to assemble that bike.
There are also numerous Christmas gifts, wrapped Christmas gifts that were shown in either the photographs or in the inventory that's collected. Did you and your wife buy gifts and have gifts ready for Christmas for your children?
Yes, some of those gifts were ours. New bed set, not bed set, I apologize. Duvet cover and sheets and all that kind of stuff the boys picked up. There was even a dollhouse that we picked up for my daughter. It was her first dollhouse. And there was also presents there from the family that had been sent down, yes.
Mr. Todt, What could have prohibited Megan from killing your children?
I have no idea. We woke up that morning, she was pain-free. Everything was good. I took the opportunity to try to go over and put the bike together. I had no knowledge of this. I don't know what could have prevented it. I have no idea. And that's the biggest thing that affects me, is the fact that I didn't even see this coming. They say, blindsided. This was a blindside by like a Mack truck filled with dynamite. Sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Collect yourself.
Tissue or something. Sorry.
Deputies?
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Do you mind if I turn around real quick? Can I turn around? Sorry.
Do you remember the religious groups sending messages and having, I guess, prayer or singing sessions in Megan's memory and, information back?
I really do not understand that question, sir. I apologize.
Was the person who was thought to be the leader of this Indian or Eastern Indian religious group called Gari?
That was one of them, yes. That was the primary one, yes.
And they had individual contact with Megan, would leave messages for Megan and contact her?
Yeah, contacts would be via phone, via, like I said, the Skype computer thing, FaceTimed sometimes.
And did they contact you or give you information that Megan had crossed over?
They didn't tell me directly. They had contacted my sister, and my sister told me that she had a conversation, that Megan was at rest and she crossed over. I don't know where that, I don't understand it. But to hold it in my heart, she crossed over and she's at peace and not suffering. That's all I can hope for.
Mr. Todt, did you kill your family?
No.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Wesley.
This is the